Hi, everybody. Just letting everybody in and we will get started. I'm sure that will continue to happen as we get going. John and Dusty, can you guys see the participants just while I go through my slides, if you don't mind letting people in?
Yeah, I see some folks trickling in there. Hello, Carol. Hello, Jennifer, Emily, Shannon, Chris, Brian, Amber. Brandon made it. What's up, Brandon? Oh, that's just his headshot. I was waiting for him to blink, but he didn't move.
I'm here. I'm much less attractive than headshot today.
Good to
How are
see you.
y'all
Oh,
doing?
Aaron Harris made it. What's up, Aaron?
Hey, hey, how you doing now? How you doing now?
I haven't seen you
Perfect.
since the Ambies, man. You've been good.
Yeah, yeah. I got a little new office space here, so still trying to work out all of the kinks with it. But I got the ambi back there, so
All
That's
right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I know people are waiting in the waiting room, but for those that are here, thank you for coming. My name is Nancy Sanchez. I am your TPA HQ host for today. We have an amazing roundtable discussion for you all. Just remember today, the conversation is really in your hands. You get to lead today's discussion and ask questions. But before we get started, kind of a couple house rules. Please remain muted if you're not speaking. You can definitely come off mute. Today's conversation is literally a roundtable, so imagine that you are all side by side in the same space. We want that flow and that energy. But while you're not, if you can keep muted, that would also be super helpful. Also, we do have the chat option, but we prefer to keep the discussion kind of flowing. So if we can limit the chat and more so continue the conversation, that would be best. And we're going to go ahead and do a couple slides and then I will turn it over. So today's Podcast Production Leaders Networking Roundtable is with the amazing John Perotti, who's a co-founder of Rococo Punch. And we have Dusty Weis, who's the president of PodCamp, CEO of PodCamp. Both are TPA members, so super excited for today. And we have a new program initiative with TPA, which is our TPA Talent Connect program. Our first partner is Oxford Road. And that event is September 9th, and that is an educational showcase of their company. And it also is promoting employment, both current jobs and pipeline opportunities. So look into that, sign up, and come and network. Put your name out there. If you are not a member of TPA, you should definitely join us. Promo code is TPA26 and get 25% off. And if you're not following us on social media, help us grow. These are all our channels. And that is it for me today. I will turn it over to John and Dusty, and let's start the conversation.
Yeah, sounds good. And John and I were thinking that we'd just start with a quick round of introductions, get to know some folks. We got a lot of folks on the call, so 20 seconds or less if you can. My name's Dusty Weis, president, founder of PodCamp Media. We've been producing podcasts for brands for more than 7 years now, multiple Ambies nominations, and we're based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. John, what do you got?
Hi, I'm John Perotti. Co-founder of Rococo Punch. We've been making like big narrative stuff and branded stuff in the podcast space since 2019. And before that, I worked in public radio for 17 years on shows like Car Talk and that sort of thing.
I love Car Talk. I love it so much. I'm
So
so
did my
jealous.
dad. So did my dad. It was torture for me.
I'll just call out some names here, going down the list of people that I see. Patricia Martin, unmute. Tell us what's up. Aaron Harris, you're on deck.
Hi, I'm Patricia Martin. I'm the executive producer and host of a psychology podcast, Jung in the World, 2 million downloads to date. We're located in Chicago, and I'm really excited to be a part of this group.
Congratulations, 2 million downloads, a nice milestone. Aaron Harris, tell us what's up. Brian Master, you're on deck.
hey everybody, my name is Aaron David Harris. I make audio dramas. My flagship audio drama is called Tales of Fists and Fireballs. I call it anime for your ears if you're interested in stuff like that. In 2025, we won Best Fiction Podcast, so for the Ambie. So I was very happy about that, and I've been a big time supporter of the Podcast Academy. really before then, but really ever since then as well.
And if you don't recognize him, he's the guy that's in like every piece of Podcast Academy like literature, like gripping his trophy and just losing his mind when he won it. Good dude, Aaron Harris. Brian Master with Chris Brandt on deck, please.
Thanks, Dusty. Hi, everybody. It's great to be with you all. I am a composer. I'm an audio producer. I run custom music and post-audio production house called Sound and Vision. We do a lot in the scripted drama and scripted comedy world with Audible. That's probably what we're known for best. A few years ago, we were Ambi Podcast of the Year nominees for an audio doc I did with Chuck D from Public Enemy called Can You Dig It? So very proud moment for us. Thanks,
I
everybody.
listened to that one. That one was excellent. Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
Brian.
Brian. Chris Brandt with Caleb Eubanks on deck.
Hey, everybody. I'm Chris Brandt. I have one show called Future TV, which focuses on, emerging tech and, sustainability tech and things like that. I host two other shows for Mission, which one is IT Visionaries, which more IT stuff, and The Fleet, which talks about electrification, automation among fleets. And then I occasionally appear on yet another one called What the Future that talks about artificial intelligence.
We got a lot to talk about, Chris. And
yeah, and I'm out of Evanston, Illinois, Chicago. So I'm down with all the Chicago folks here. So
I gotcha. South of the Cheddar Curtain. No, that's all right. Caleb Eubanks with Shannon Perry on deck, please.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Honored to be here. My name is Caleb Eubanks. I'm over here in Clearwater, Florida, and I'm trying to just do a lot of different hats at once, like most of us here. I'm working on my own podcast, The Chris Cast, where I'm just trying to become more knowledgeable and talk with anybody about anything. I spend a lot of time with the Television Academy as well. I host and moderate their science, technology, and emerging media groups right now for the next 6 months. And I'm also working as a CMO for a business that's creating AI software for productivity, as well as for podcasts, because I really care about trying to do things that add value just for all of us. We all have some of the similar problems, and I want to create solutions for that. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Caleb touching on a theme there that I think we're going to hear a lot, which is we all wear a lot of hats. 1,000%. We'll probably circle back on that in a little bit. Shannon Perry with Emily Rask on deck. Oh, Shannon, can you unmute, please?
Muted?
I think we hear you now.
Okay.
Give it a try.
All right.
There she is.
Hi, Shannon Perry, founder of Audiotocracy podcast production in Seattle, and writer and showrunner of the sci-fi comedy audio drama, now in its 7th season, Oz 9.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Emily Rask, if you're there, with Jennifer Longworth on deck.
Hello, I am here. I'm actually currently multitasking, making sourdough in hair curlers, so that is why I am off screen.
Oh, come on, camera on, please.
No way. I have a marketing background and I'm actually new to podcasting, but my podcast is called Lies We Bought, and I focus on taking events that have happened in cultures or slogans like 10 steps or breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I just launched one about this is your brain on drugs. And what I do is I talk about the history, the industry, how much money is being made, the marketing. It's a marketing podcast. So I talk about the marketing behind it and how everything is being sold to you. And then I always have a personal story. So that's my podcast.
Emily, someone actually just recommended your podcast to me. So I checked it out and loved it. Thank you so much. We have to talk after this too. Jennifer Longworth with Between Lines podcast on deck.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. I own Bourbon Barrel Podcasting editing company, and we help about 20 different podcasts sound. bourbonbarrelpodcasting.com.
Awesome. One of the first podcasts I recorded was at the Bourbon Museum in Louisville. So great to have you here. Between Lines podcast with Carol Vassar on deck. Between Lines, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Monim. I'm a podcast host and the founder and CEO of Nexa Studios. I'm also the host and creator of Between Lines, a podcast where I talk about real experiences emotions, and things we often don't say out loud. By the way, it's my first season podcasting, and I'm actually acing it with more than 10,000 streams. And I'm really happy to be here today and excited to be part of this conversation.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Carol Vassar with Elizabeth Quinn on deck.
Thank you so much. My name is Carol Vassar. I am the host and co-producer of the Nemours Children's Health Well Beyond Medicine podcast. We talk about anything and everything outside the doctor's office that affects children's health. I also have a background in commercial radio as well as public health and healthcare. I just took on board the new podcast for Trust for America's Health as well. So I do all of the on-air stuff plus production in the background, and I'm so glad to be here. I'm based in Connecticut, by the way.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Carol. I think I said Elizabeth Quinn was next with Amber Yankee on deck.
Hey everybody, so happy to be here, and I'm getting so many great podcast recommendations, which is very exciting. Scrambling to follow all of them. I am the co-creator, co-producer, and writer of a scripted drama called Going Reno, along with my partner Laura Knight, who directed it. It's our first season. It's a historical drama that takes place in 1932 Reno, Nevada, when before we had no-fault divorce and everyone would flock to Reno for their quickie divorces. And so it's very female focused story. I started in Light Quinn Productions to create it. It stars Bonnie Hunt and Joelle Carter. And the first season is out now. We've got episode 7 just dropped, and we've got 2 more to go. We're still new. I'm still new to the whole podcast drama world. So we're still building our downloads, but our engagement on every episode is between 80 and a little over 100%, which makes me very excited.
That's outstanding. Great work. Amber Yankee with Tara Jabari on deck.
First, I'm so impressed you said my last name correctly. It never happened, so thank you.
You got a lot of Yankees up here in Wisconsin. It's what we do.
And that's actually where my parents are from, so that makes sense. I'm Amber Yankee. I am the producer and co-host of a podcast called Super Sorry, which explores themes of apologies, accountability, and repair in superhero movies. So right now we're diving into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so super excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day to come out. And just want to give a quick shout out to Elizabeth. I just started listening to your podcast, and it's lovely.
I love how quickly this is becoming a mutual admiration society. This is great, guys. Love the positive vibes.
Amber, I know I put yours on my list, so I'm getting there any second.
Tara Jabari with Will Beckton on deck, please.
Hi everyone. I am a consultant specializing in podcasting, helping creators and companies who have podcasts or are interested in getting involved with podcasting and learning how to use the platform for their goals. And a couple of podcasts that I work on are Media Maker Spotlight, where we talk to media specialists, and Who Was She podcast, which is my own about women throughout history.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Will Beckton with Rachel, and here's a last name I'm not going to attempt, Rachel F. on deck.
Hi, I'm Will Beckton of Jet Road Studios, which is a full-service boutique podcast facility in Studio City. We won 2 Signal Awards for our pilot podcast, Jet Road Studios Presents. Another one of those pilots, Bad Elizabeth, is now in season 1. And prior to that, I was the original engineer of Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend and lead engineer of Team Coco podcast before starting Jet Road.
Outstanding. That's a great resume. Thank you for joining us, Will. Rachel F.
Yes. Hi, Rachel Solgenetti. Yes, I'm glad you didn't attempt it. Anyway, I'm the host and creator of a podcast called From Foster to Forever. It's about fostering to adopt children. And I'm also a creative multi-hyphenate. So I'm an award-winning audiobook narrator and voice actor and writer. And I'm really, really interested in writing for audio drama and producing audio drama as well. So it's great to be in your company. Thank you.
Outstanding. And I see we're coming up on 12:15 here, and there is just an acre of you folks. Holy cow. So at the risk of not doing introductions for the entire hour, Let's talk to David Hoffman real quick, and then we'll do a little spot a little bit later on where we invite some more folks to jump in. But David, you want to say hi?
Sure, happy to. Hi, David Hoffman. I'm the founder and principal of an outfit called Citizen Race Car. We've been producing branded podcasts since 2012, particular specialty in audio documentary, also in shows about science and medicine, done a lot of work in that space. And then for the last 5 years, we've run a program called After School Podcasting, where we send producers into after school programs, summer camps, teach the kids how to do audio storytelling. We've been in something 400 classrooms around the country doing that. I'm based in Washington, D.C. My team's all over the country. Very glad to be here. Nice to meet everybody.
All right. Well, that's awesome. And sorry to everybody that didn't get a chance to jump on here, but there really are just a lot of people. And John, I think that speaks to some of the interest that there is in what we're talking about today, some of the value that we could provide for Podcast Academy members by having this discussion. But John, do you want to tee us up a little bit more for just what the conversation is going to come to next?
Well, I'm hoping that, and this is the first time we're trying this, so bear with us. But I'm hoping that we can be valuable to each other in sort of solving problems that we're having, or just commiserating in a way that gets to a solution with any of the stuff we deal with as people who work in podcast production professionally, whether that's client work or making creative work for ourselves.
Yeah, certainly. And we had really just sort of for this introductory session here thought that we were going to tee it up as almost like an open house. If you've got a pain point that's been making you crazy, if you've got something that you think that other people can learn from, or if you're just curious about something is how somebody else is making money in this business, we wanted to kind of set this up as a forum for that. So our thought was maybe to take the next 10 minutes to just have some people maybe pitch some questions, unmute and hop on with a question. I'll kind of keep some notes here, and then we'll pick one or two topics and maybe dive in, and then we'll end the meeting here by kind of laying out where we hope this group will go and what topics we want to tackle the next time that we all get together here. So with that much said, deep breath. Who's got a question or a pain point that you've just been waiting for somebody to bring up?
Are we raising hands or just talking or what?
Jump in. That's as good as anything.
I would love to know. So, like many of you, me and my partner are pretty much doing everything. So we've been overwhelmed with just getting everything done and out. And now we're trying to build audience engagement. I would love to hear what people are doing to build that audience in a meaningful way, like to get those loyal listeners who will share your podcast and talk about it and really engage, so that it's not just like, hey, we're just putting this out and that's it and we hope you like it. So if anyone has any thoughts, I am all ears.
John, you want to jump in on that one?
I pay people. I'm just going to be honest. Like at the amount of production that we're doing, like I just have to find somebody professional. And to be honest, like that money that I spend on that sort of stuff saves me the ability to not have to spend my time doing it, and I keep focused on the things that I'm good at. So that's my answer. I don't know if you're feeling exactly the same on that, Dusty.
No, I'm right there in the same boat. When I'm pitching a project to a new client, I give them two figures, and I'm like, this is what it's going to cost to make a podcast that sounds great and delivers value. And this is what it's going to cost to produce a podcast that sounds great, delivers value, and meets X number of thousand people in the first year that we're on the air with it. We can do this because a lot of the clients that we work with, they have their own internal marketing and public relations teams. They run their own social channels. They have their own e-newsletters that they can put a link to the podcast in. So a lot of them approach it from the standpoint of, we're going to promote it ourselves, or from the beginning, from the very first time we talk about it, I make sure that they know that you need budget to promote and grow your podcast. Does anybody else have thoughts on that?
Can I jump in for a second, Dusty? I just wanted to say I completely agree with what you guys are both saying, that there is a money in, listeners out thing. Paid promotion is really important, but not all promotion services, promotion solutions are built the same. There's a lot of people out there saying they're doing audience building, and some of them are very much looking for the listen here, and some of them are geared toward building subscribers and building a base of subscribers. And I think really auditioning different promotional services and really understanding what they're going to deliver and how is really important. That too, picking the right partners for that, because they deliver very different things to different kinds of software and paid platforms that are out there.
And I would say shout out anybody that you like.
Honestly, right now, I gotta give a shout out to Mopod. I think they do really good work. They're not the least expensive option, but they build subscribers and not just one-shot listens. And I think they've of the places we've worked with in the last couple of years, they're my favorite at the moment.
I would love to know what your spend is on that sort of stuff, like, sort of small, medium, large, like what's your expectations?
For us, we try to build in, $500 to $1,000 an episode just for paid promotion as a minimum is really kind of what you need to move the needle. But we tend to work on more expensive shows. I know that's not that's not in the budget for independent stuff, but it's good that you guys thinking that way anyway.
Yeah, and a lot of what's out there too. I mean, if you're talking about cost per new listener, I've seen services that deliver what I think to be like valid new listeners, not the people who are just using bot farms or whatever. I've seen as low as like 50 cents per new listener. I've seen as high as $5 to $10 per new listener. It's expensive to get your podcast into new people's ears.
I have a question. Are any of you guys doing this in-house, or are you guys just contracting out? Are you hiring someone on as marketing for your show, and so that way you're able to scale better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Carol, tell us more.
Yeah, that's what we do. I actually do a branded podcast, but within the podcast team, we have an agency out of Jacksonville, Florida called Ruckus that does all of the marketing. They do work with Mopod. They have been able to build an e-newsletter list as well as get our subscribers on Apple Podcast up to 50,000, over 50,000, a million downloads. So, but it's expensive, and I don't even know what I do, just the production side and the hosting and research on guests and that kind of thing. I don't even know what the budget is for that, but I know the organization has a budget and supports this podcast because they think it's important. One of the other things, if you're looking for the low-hanging fruit here, is in your guest choices, look for people who have social media followings and who are willing to promote this podcast once it is out in the world. I think that's one of the real keys if you're looking for some organic growth.
One thing I'm going to mention is that I find a lot of value in a lot of what we do is sort of narrative podcasting, whether that's for brands or for ourselves, or in partnership with some streamers. And sometimes, for me anyway, PR is the most important thing for us to pay for, an independent PR person, because you want to talk about seeing the needle move, like you get an article in like the Atlantic or the Times or something like that. That's a real needle mover. And so oftentimes that's the first part of, I wrap that into marketing, but that's the first part of our budget that we want to spend, because it's the biggest payoff.
Do you have an agency that you like to work with, John?
Yeah, I work with Christine Ragasa. She's amazing. And was really good at putting plans together. I mean, she's done all of our work with on the series The Turning, and we've gotten tons of press for that series. Best of lists, articles, all of that stuff, and she just has great connections.
And I'll shout out Jeff Umbro and the entire team over at the Podglomerate as being another great place to go, as well as Podcast Academy Board of Governors member Christy Mirabel recently started her own agency doing that as well, and has made great headway. All great options out there as well that bring a professional PR-oriented approach as well to podcast promotion.
This is also helpful. Thank you. And yeah, we've definitely toyed with going to the PR route, so it sounds like that might be the way we go. But this is super helpful to hear from everybody.
Good stuff. Is there? maybe move on to another topic here, just to keep the variety going. That's the spice of life, after all. Who else has got a burning question? I heard somebody there.
It's me, it's Aaron. I hope that's okay.
Aaron David Harris, jump in.
Yeah, yeah. I actually am just curious, just in terms of the temperature of the room, how other podcasters feel about awards, about the concept of awards, the ecosystem. I'm very much interested in the ecosystem of awards. Now, I do audio fiction. I actually made a 22-minute webinar video about audio fiction awards. There are a lot of crossover with obviously with podcasting awards. But I'm just interested what others in the room, how they feel about the Signal Awards, how they feel about the NYC Podcast Awards, how they feel about the Ambies, how they feel about the Webbies, how they feel about all of the different the new the old systems that are making categories for podcasting, like the Golden Globes, and like I just read someone posted on our Glue Up page about the Critics' Choice Awards, creating three categories for podcasting. Just curious. I want to hear what other people's thoughts are. I value them very much, but I'm not sure how everyone else feels about them.
John, I want to hear your take on this, and then I've got some takes that I want to heat up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, awards are great. Awards for me, it really helps me get my next job. And so, as many awards as I can get, great, because it opens the door to clients when they're trying to figure out who they're going to work with. If I can show up with a handful of signals and ambies and all that stuff, like I do feel like it helps. I mean, there are some things that just feel, I think everybody has a different kind of vision of like what it means for you to get an award. And we've had some ones that are really great, but to me, honestly, like the value is in getting more clients, and oftentimes clients who, because of that award are feeling like, oh, I'm getting the right team here.
But John, have you ever been in a position where like you signed up for an awards show or something like that, and it felt kind of icky? It felt kind of scammy, and maybe I'm reading into what Aaron was saying there, but I feel like there's a few of them out there that are just like they just want to take your money.
Listen, I'm sure there are. I mean, I just feel like the thing for me is that most of the clients, especially on the more branded side for me, or the more business side for me, they don't know what those things are either. So it's not like they're going to be like, oh, I see he won an Ambi, but then you got a Signal. I don't care about that, or I care about this. So for me, as long as you know what you're getting into, I kind of feel like anything is helpful. I can make up an award today and give everybody one, and like feel free to tell your next client that you won it. Like for me, it's just about getting work in the door, to be completely honest. Like after, being in this business since 2019, it's like I need to just keep the flow going. And I care about the projects, but I'm saying like the hardest part, I think we all know this, especially those of us that do a lot of client work and do pitching and all of that stuff. It's like I need people in the door. I just always have to have jobs so that I can maintain my employees and all that stuff. And I do think, awards are super helpful. Yeah, I mean, if I could get a Golden Globe, great. That would be awesome.
They're great for retention too. Clients love getting them. Love people saying we made an award-winning podcast.
Exactly. It does nothing. It does nothing to hurt what we're doing, and I've only seen positive effects.
I'll share one story here, and I agree with you 100%. Like the social proof, the credibility building that you get from winning awards, it means everything. The first award that we ever brought home at PodCamp Media was back in 2020 at like the height of pandemic lockdowns. And I was like unshowered for 2 days, sitting in my basement. And I got word that the show we produced called Lead Balloon had been selected by Adweek as marketing podcast of the year. And that opened up so many doors for me, just like that little piece of social proof, like Adweek. Oh, that's a brand. People know Adweek. Oh, and you got marketing podcast of the year. You must know how to make podcasts. But I'll tell you the scammy part that came after that was a week later, I get an email from Adweek's awards coordinator, and they said, okay, for $2,000, or I forget whatever it was, but for $2,000, we'll send you the licensing package that will let you tell people that you won this award. In other words, they weren't going to let me put their logo on my website. They weren't going to let me put their logo on my website unless I paid them $2,000.
Who was this place?
That
Adweek.
is insane.
Adweek.
Adweek?
That is very standard. U.S. News and World Report, when I work in the healthcare space,
Never heard
that's
that.
very standard in the healthcare space. They do that all the time, and those awards mean a lot in the healthcare space. So they must have been taking their cues from U.S. News.
I think
If I already paid a $500
Wow.
entry fee to get into the contest, for them to turn back around and say, okay, $2,000 more and you can put it on your website, that's where I'm out. Sorry.
That's literally that was literally the Golden Globes, because it was the same thing for when they pulled it from Luminate for the top 25. It was, if you wanted to enter, whoever was in the top 25, it was a $500 entry fee, and then if you were in the top 6, then you would have to pay another $5,000 for your reel that you were going to put in. So they had to chuck out $5,500 in order for them to be officially in the running for the Golden Globes this year. And I came at the right time, because as soon as I saw Aaron pop up and he had that question, I was like, I knew he was going to ask it. And I was like, he must have waited for me to come into the room. Because I talk to him about this all the time.
Yeah.
But and irony enough, I was the one that posted in the glue page about the Critics' Choice Creator Awards that was just announced. And because I did speak to the CEO of that, he did mention that independent podcasters are able to submit for that. So if you are an indie, they are encouraging indies to submit. I don't know what their eligibility fees are just yet, because they haven't announced that. It varies between whatever Critics' Choice does, because some range from 150 and all the way up to 400. So it's probably not going to get announced until closer to when it opens in October. But I agree with John's point, is that at least with me, when I use mine, it helps build up my relationship with publicists, because I do have an interview entertainment podcast where I do interview people from a lot of the big shows. And because I have that as my SIG, as well as when I pitch it out to them, they do tend to trust me with a lot of their work, especially since a lot of the episodes I submitted were from their shows. That's kind of why they do come back. So I use it as a crutch to have them continue to work with me, and then give me more of their actors from Apple TV, as well as with Paramount Plus, and et cetera, and a bunch of other streamers. So it definitely works to have it, at least for me, in that regard. So yeah, that's how I use it, and that's how I push it out.
That's good stuff. Anybody else want to share a story about awards? And I'll end my Adweek story here by saying I did put it on my website. I didn't pay them the licensing fee, and they haven't sued me yet, because are they really going to sue a small independent podcast production studio in Milwaukee,
That is
Wisconsin?
just
They would look
outrageous
terrible.
was
Well,
even
Dusty, Adweek was a client of mine for years and years, and like they're very private equity held right now.
Yep.
So
oh my god,
yeah, that tracks.
So that's one that I feels a little bit icky. First of all, one of the great, most valuable things that Podcast Academy does is they put on the Ambies, and the Ambies is such a well-run show. There's nothing scammy about it, and the entry fee is so darn reasonable. Like, I feel like that's one of the great services that TPA is doing. Others that we like, I feel pretty okay about Signal and the Webbies. They each have like 1 million categories, and that feels a little excessive to me. But hey, everybody gets a chance to get a trophy, so that's nice. What are some of the other ones that we like, guys?
We got noticed for Tribeca. I mean, it's hard, we entered Tribeca in 2024 with Going Reno, and that's we were official selection. But more than that, we just met a lot of great people in the audio community. So that was, I think, the bigger win for us. Like, we met Jaina with Red for Revolution, and Nicole Hill from Our Ancestors Were Messy. And the audio community feels like an indie film community. It feels very supportive. I'm not just saying that. Like, I really love this community a lot. So that was, but again, having that laurel definitely it's a validation more than anything. And it did help a lot. So
Dustin?
Hi, this is
Oh,
Rachel with Latinos Out Loud. Hello, I'm not on video. I'm so sorry.
Rachel.
I am a two-time Webby Award nominee, four-time Signal Award winner. I have submitted to the Ambies for 4 years straight, but have not gotten a nomination. And I will say that not only is it an amazing way to showcase the work, but also publicists, they do look at that. It's sort of like the LinkedIn for podcasters, if you will. I do think that they're paying attention to the award winners. I'm also an educator, so I teach at the college level podcast production, and to be in the archives of the Webbies and the Signal Awards are of great benefit because us educators in podcasting use it as a resource for students in podcasting. The other thing I will say is, when you're in a room of independent podcasters, like myself, it does make you stand out. I feel like doors have opened for me with advertisers that have continued to like shock me where I'm like, oh, they're interested in little old Latinos out loud. It might be the six laurels from the Webbies and the Signals that I have on our website. It's also the 10 years of hard work. Let's not get that twisted. But I encourage my fellow podcasters to submit. And I want to echo Elizabeth's comments in that I feel one with this community, especially at these industry events and even on Zooms like this, which I probably wouldn't even know about if I weren't involved in this, in award submissions. So, yeah, I wanted to just echo her sentiments on that the community is strong and we want each other to win. And as a judge, as a member of the International Academy of Digital Arts and Sciences, I offer my services for free to anyone out there. I post on social about this often, where if you want my help with sort of putting together your awards package, because I have the perspective from the judge's lens, I'm here to help. And I also wanted to offer that out to everybody on this call as well. And now I will put myself back on mute. Thank you.
I'll call out one more
Well,
thing that you said there, Rachel, and that
congratulations.
is that in a world of Chat GPT and Google Gemini and all that, if somebody Googles Rachel Strauss right now, I bet it comes back that she is an award-winning podcaster because those what do you call them? Those GPTs, those LLMs,
The SEOs.
yes,
You're
exactly.
absolutely right. And I also come back as an actor from Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, but I wasn't alive when that show was on the air. So that's a joke. But
You realize I was
sure.
about to IMDb you and find out if you were actually on the show.
The funny thing is, one more thing, my friends, is that I'm also an actor, but more so a voice actor. And I thank podcasting for really helping me to refine this tool that is my voice that led me to being on 5 seasons of an animated series. And I am on IMDb, but not for Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, okay? But yeah, you are absolutely right. And all of those search terms came about organically. I wish I had the budget that John was talking about. I simply do not. I don't pay myself. I don't make a ton of money with this podcast, but it does feed into these other ancillary businesses of mine, like voice acting and teaching podcasting at the college level. So I'm going to be speaking at the Empowered Podcast Conference in North Carolina in 3 weeks, all about this. Just that podcasting doesn't have to be your only bread and butter on the table. There could be these other ancillary businesses that come from it that could very well make you a nice living. So thanks,
I want to
Dusty.
add to that. I want to add to that because what you just said, it really resonates with me because I'm basically the same person. I'm also an indie. I may not have the big budget like everybody else does, but I think that's such a misconception when people like to, or at least say the words of an independent podcaster because they feel less than, and it's really not. I feel, and I'm dead ass honest. If you're an independent podcaster, you're working twice, three times, if not four times as hard, and that to me is the most important work. Independent podcasters are doing, in no shade, God's work. you know, so I applaud any and everybody who are independent podcasters who are continuing to get their messaging out and who are continuing to get their voices heard and submitting to these awards. I mean, even with the Ambies and getting involved with TPA this year and seeing how the Hollywood Reporter and seeing how Variety and seeing how Billboard promotes them out, they are supporting this venture, and it's getting a lot of eyeballs to a lot of us in this space. So continue to do what you're doing. It's not about you being the loudest voice in the room. It's about you being the most impactful voice in the room. So congratulations again. So good for you.
You know, one thing that is free, that is just as good as an award in my book, is being able to get on people's year-end lists. And so sometimes I like to put a lot of energy into that, and that's just about finding out the right people to talk to and the right people to get your podcast in the hands of. And I find that the results are just as good, if not better, if you can make it onto somebody's year-end list. That feels just as good, and I think there's free ways besides your time. Obviously, there's free ways to get there too.
I want to talk about like flipping the award concept on its head because Young in the World came out of an institution, the Carl Jung Institute in Chicago, and our mission is to, apply the work of Carl Jung to contemporary living. And we decided that it was time, we had 2 million downloads, but we didn't have as much engagement as we wanted. So we really studied our audience and we found out we had a lot of therapists from all over the world. They were young, they were surprisingly young, like between 30 and 45, who are our listeners. And so we have decided this year, after we, got to know some of their issues, like we engaged with them. I worked with the University of Chicago and got 2 free interns to do some of this grunt work. And we discovered that one of their frustrations was that it was hard for them to get published. Journals are closing down. Sometimes you have to be highly credentialed to even have a paper considered. And so we're going to be launching, branded not from the Institute, but branded by the podcast, an international essay contest. And so it gives us opportunity to talk about the podcast and talk about the profession in a completely different way. And it also, we're just getting started with this. And so I've started to have early conversations with a couple of sponsors. And I've been stunned, even though this is like preliminary, I'm able to use my download number and the mission of this. And, because we know so much now about our audience and their behaviors and who they are, we're getting a lot of early interest from this. And as you know, like getting sponsors is really hard. But like to put your name on an award or like not name it, but like be behind it is something like people can understand and they see the value in that right away. So it's also giving us an opportunity to get some earned media, some PR, as somebody had mentioned earlier. So we're going to see how it goes. And but so far so good. We're really kind of inspired by the early reaction.
If I could,
Oh, go on ahead, Aaron. You brought this one up, and then we're gonna
yeah,
move
I was
on.
gonna now I was wanted to do like a wrap up a little bit. I was gonna say it was gonna wrap it up with 2 things. One, like something you mentioned, Dusty, about me kind of holding an award and going ballistic. Part of it is just my idea that like awards are what you make them. Just like a degree is what you make it. Yeah, it's cool if you get into an Ivy League, but there are thousands of schools that you can get into that are really good, and then you are in charge of your own. I always say, like, don't wait on your ship to come in, take ownership of your own ship. So you get an award for something if it's something that, especially if it's something that you really wanted, like you don't have to wait on anybody else to tell you how great of a job you did. I'm happy that Hollywood Reporter and Variety and all of that stuff, but I'm gonna be the one that's gonna be right up on the front and center of it. Very last thing I kind of want to say about awards is like I think as submitters, people like us who are podcasts who are submitters, I think one thing we should take into account is that like podcast awards are very, very young. Like the podcasting awards that we call the Ambies the Oscars of podcasting. We call the Signal Awards or whatever the case may be, the Oscars of this, the Oscars of that. But like most of these awards are less than 10 years old. I believe. Like maybe the Webbies is a little bit older, but that's like they're not just a podcasting award. A lot of the newer ones are coming in. So I say that to say like we're gonna see how it all plays out. And we, as many of us, some of us are winners, many of us are nominees, we get to sort of take ownership of that too. We get to shepherd as creators in the medium where it goes and how it shifts and the perspective of it. I love I forget who it was, but I love someone who said that they're a teacher and that the archives of the ambies are being used in classrooms. Like that is great. That is awesome because it shows us the power of like we get to shepherd it, we get to see in real time how we want these awards to be viewed. So I appreciate everybody's thoughts and ingratiating what I thought was kind of a selfish thing and turning it into a community thing.
No, that's good stuff, man. And again, thanks everybody for chipping in here. This hour is flying past, and we're kind of coming up on the end here. So one thing that I wanted to call out is that John and I, as we were planning, and John did most of the work, as we were planning up, kind of put together like a list of questions that we were going to discuss if nobody asked anything, and of course we had a lot of great, hilarious, right? But as we look to the future of this group, the idea is this is going to be a regular group where we get together. Some of the topics that we discussed today, like audience growth, awards, things like that, those are sort of general to podcasting. And we want this to also be especially a group for people who run podcasting businesses. And so keeping that in mind, John and I had discussed potential topics like how do you price the work that you do? Are you doing per episode, value based, on retainer? What percentage of your revenue comes from production services versus what other revenue sources do you have? What do you see as the biggest opportunity for production companies in the next 2 to 3 years? Things like that. And so as we wind down, first of all, make sure that you add everybody that you've seen today on LinkedIn, strengthen the community, keep it going just like that. But then my and John's question to you guys is the next time that we get together, what podcasting business specific discussions do you want to touch on? What's going to add value to your business? What's going to address the questions that you have been working on forever in what you do? And I'll open it back up.
For me, it would be networking with other businesses that are adjacent to what I do and to see where the money can be, how can I scratch your back and how can you scratch mine? If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Just finding folks to partner with, finding folks that you can share leads with and ideas with and work with down the line. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
I would love to hear you guys talk
Go
about.
ahead, Brandon.
I would love to hear about retaining talent with with budgets going up and down and just being a small business. How do I keep the talent that's really good around when projects are coming and going? I think it's something it's a struggle.
Oh yeah.
And John and Dustin, if you guys, if real quick, just since I'm on the line, if any of you guys at the same time do have interests in webinars that aren't business related, we're totally open to hearing those too. We're always everything else with Podcast Academy. Please put some of those questions in the chat and I'll always take snapshots and use those to plan future webinars and stuff. So as we do this, while this group might be business oriented, I know a lot of guys have some other questions as well.
And Brandon, please do introduce yourself while we've got you here. I hadn't seen you jump on here. Brandon is the chair of the, what are we calling it, Member Services Committee and a member of the Podcast Academy Board of Governors.
I think so. I wasn't trying to hijack your questions, by the way. I'm Brandon Scheck-Snyder-Irwin, a company called Southern Gothic Media. We make spooky stuff. You can't tell from behind me. Bunch of shows like that. But I'm on the board of governors for the Podcast Associate or for Podcast Academy, and run that kind of membership committee. So we're the group that we're trying to create all of these programs for different groups of people. And so, as we've kind of discussed today, this is the hope is to kind of create a group for agency owners, business owners to talk about some of these things. At the same time, all you other guys, I always want to know what y'all need from the academy. it's really hard sometimes from the top down to give you what you need when like not everybody we never know, right? So if you have questions, if you have things that you want an expert to have a webinar on, we're the folks you can talk to. And I will put my email in the chat as well. We're always looking for folks, and I definitely am going to reach out to a few of you guys too, who seem like experts that maybe we can work something out in the future. But anyway, that is enough of a mid-roll ad for this programming. I will back to the regular programming, guys.
Hi, I was curious. I saw a great talk over at the Slate offices after the Signal Awards where Mia Lobel was talking about how they partner with independents. And actually, the show that she was referring to ended up winning a Peabody. And here at Jet Road Studios, we basically specialize in development. And I was wondering if there was any sort of apparatus for partnering like bigger networks with more independent networks, as far as like, us, we picture ourselves as like almost like a test kitchen or like an incubator that could be useful for a larger network that maybe doesn't have the bandwidth for that or want something to kind of percolate off to the side. So I was wondering if there was any, system for linking bigger and smaller entities.
Well, I can say I don't know if there's a system, but certainly with budgets at some of the bigger streamers going down, I think there's probably going to be more and more room for them to outsource that sort of stuff, especially that sort of development work. So, I mean, in my experience, it's connecting with just making sure that you can find the right people and connecting with people on the inside there. Like, and Will, I'm happy to share some of the connections that I have. But I think that's a great idea. I think sometimes that develops into a Slate deal. If you got the right stuff and they like what you're doing, they'd rather have it be a bigger, a bigger sort of connection. But I definitely think there's room for that. And like even my company, as small as it is, will work with like independent people. So it's like I think on the lower end of it, like the smaller end of companies, it definitely happens a lot. I haven't seen it as much yet in the bigger streamers, but I think there's going to be room really soon for that.
Is this going to be sent out the recording to those in case we want to listen to it again? Because if anything we missed or notes or anything like that.
Ooh, great question for Nancy.
It
Nancy?
is. Yep.
Okay.
Everybody that registered will receive the recording for today.
Awesome, because I'm overwhelmed and want to revisit it.
Just a reminder too that there's 3 dots at the top of the chat that allow you to save the chat, so you can get all those URLs and all that good.
Oh yeah, I did that already, but that's a great reminder. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question of the crowd here? How many folks are audio specific versus video as well? I'm curious how it all shakes out.
Oh man. I mean,
how many are video? YouTube.
I am. I do a mixture of both, though.
Yeah.
We try to do a little bit of both.
I'm audio now, but open to
Good
video.
mute button technique.
It was close.
I don't know about you, Chris, but like I'll do video if you got the scratch, but I prefer not to.
Yeah, I mean, I started off on the YouTube side, building YouTube channels, and so like it's funny because my viewership is way bigger on the YouTube side than it is on the podcast audio side. So when we get into these things, TPA has a tendency to be more podcast centric. So I'm always curious as to how that's shifting because it seems like everybody's shifting to, the YouTube side of things these days. But I'm curious.
I loved audio when I started doing it 20 years ago, but when I shifted over into video, it was because it seemed a bit more cohesive when I had the guests on. I was able to read them better when I saw their face and how they were reacting to questions and responses and everything like that. So that's why I love the video aspect of it, because you get to see that and you get to see my reaction to it. So I prefer video, to be quite honest with you, but there's still something so glorious about audio as well.
Yeah.
I just think too, in my experience with working with clients, it's like a lot of these clients are coming in with audio money and expecting video
Video
podcasts. And
quality.
yeah, well, and so that's like, honestly, that's like the biggest, I mean, I think there are plenty of people who are professional at video and like there's a certain rate that is. And I think a lot of people are trying to, undercut that these days. And so I try to stay away from projects where the budget doesn't necessarily fit the video. I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it if that's something that you want, because I'm going to keep this thing running. But it certainly, a lot of people don't understand what a video budget should look like.
John, I wanna ask you then, business owner to business owner, what
Yeah.
premium do you charge for adding video? If somebody comes to you and says, "We want to do a project," and you say, "Great, this is the price," and they're like, "No, we want it to be video," and you say, "Oh, this is the price." Is it plus 100%, plus 50%? Where are you coming in at?
Yeah, it's a great question. I usually will, it's just about hours, right? It's about hours and cost up front. If they have a bunch of the stuff that they need already, the cameras and the place and all of that stuff, that's one thing. If we need to book them out of studio, obviously that cost goes on top of it. It can end up being double. I just think it's really a question of, what they already have working for them, what their expectations are, and then how involved are we getting in that edit. So it's basically a checklist of once we say we're going to video, it's like, all right, well, tell me all of this information, and then I'll tell you, a price I can do it at.
Yeah, no, that's a
And
great
not be
point.
underwater,
Yeah.
I feel like, and I imagine a lot of you people who work in podcasting know, like oftentimes you get, you have to take a job, or you sort of like take a job where it puts you underwater, and then you have to find another job that sort of like makes up for it. So I've mostly avoided the video stuff where possible, simply because like those budgets don't really work for me.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I'm perfectly comfortable pricing someone out as a client. If they come and they say, "We want a video project," and I tell them it's going to cost this much, and they say that's too much, I say, "All right, good luck."
There's
Because
plenty
yeah,
of other people. Yeah. Like,
yeah, for
yeah.
me, it's probably about, if we're talking about remote produced, so recorded on Riverside and then edited after the fact. I'm probably adding plus 40 or plus 50% to the budget to do video podcast versus an audio only podcast with video snippets for social. That's where I'm at, plus 40 or plus 50.
Call that audio standard video in our group. I'm not going to your place with a bunch of cameras and a bunch of lights and a bunch of stuff. It's Riverside, side by side. We'll do multicam in Premiere with like your picture, their picture, and your side by side. And that's as dynamic as it gets because we are audio first. And I feel like that's what our clients have the budget for. That's what we can provide as a service, and we just call it audio quality.
I love that. Audio standard video.
Audio
I'm gonna
standard
borrow
video. That's right. We are audio first, kids.
I use this as a selling point to talk them out of video, because I'm like, look, if here's your budget. If you want to do video, you're going to get 6 months for the same price. We could do 2 years, and that's a much longer runway to get your audience and build your show up and gain some traction. And then we should look at doing video down the road if you're seeing this audience growth. And it almost always they're like, oh, we didn't even think about that. Like, because so many clients don't know anything about this. So it earns their trust. I have found it earns their trust when I'm like, hey, we could do this and you can get a lot more bang for your buck. But if you want to do video, we can.
But do you find that like video gives you more repurposing opportunities? Because that's one of the things you get clips and shorts and this, and you can hit it on Instagram, TikTok, wherever, LinkedIn, all that. And plus, I find like my sponsors, they like the video because then they can repurpose it for things they're doing too. It's interesting. I mean, it's like it's a very more audio focused crowd, and I get the reasons. I'm surprised though that as we go forward, there's not more pressure from customers and clients to push towards video.
You have to talk to them about ROI. What's your return on investment? Like I always come from the perspective of like, what do you want this to do? How much money do you want to spend? And what do you think the outcomes are? What outcomes do you want? and what outcomes do you think are realistic? And then in that discussion, I can say, well, for that, you're going to need $100,000 budget. You have a $25,000 budget. We can do this for that. And we can have a better connection, better retention rates, better audience growth with that limited budget. But if you want to go that, then you're gonna have to go back to your executive director or your marketing director, whoever it is that can, and ask them, okay, hey, we need to quadruple the budget.
I mean, I feel like we could go. I feel like we could go on and on about this one in particular for a long time. And I think everybody's got an interesting point of view on that one. So, like, let's mark this one up to next time because I feel like we can go pretty deep with some real examples. But it is too.
Yeah. This is that's time. We're out of time. So I'd love it if you can let us know where you found value in this discussion, what was good, what you want more of, what you want less of for next time. Let Nancy know, let John and me know. But thank you, everybody, for coming out. This is an awesome discussion. I cannot believe how much participation we had and how many people jumped on. So we appreciate Nancy for everything that she does, Brandon for pointing us in this direction, and of course, John for co-hosting with me. This is great. Let's do it again soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Thanks so much,
Thanks.
everybody. It's nice to
See
meet
you later.
everybody. You guys can find me on Instagram at Aaron David Harris, and at Aaron David Harris if you guys want to chat it up some more with me.
Cool. Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah.
Thanks. See you later, Brian. It's good to see you.
Nancy, hi. Nice to see you
Hey, Aaron.
again.
Nice to see you too. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. Be on the lookout for the email with the recording.
How'd we do, Nancy?
All right. Bye, everybody.